Aloha Jivas, welcome to our reading of the Bhagavad Gita as it is by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupad. We are on chapter 2, Contents of the Gita Summarized, and we'll be starting with text 8. Arjuna was saying to Krishna that, he's so perplexed he doesn't know what to do and surrenders unto Krishna's will, knowing that is what's paramount. So Arjuna continues to speak. Nahi prapashyami mama panudyad yakchokam uchoshanam indriyananam avapya bhuma vasapatnam ridam Rajyam Suranam Api Chadhi Padyam. I can find no means to drive away this grief which is drying up my senses. I will not be able to destroy it, even if I win an unrivaled kingdom on the earth, with sovereignty like that of the demigods in heaven. Purport. Although Arjuna was putting forward so many arguments based on knowledge of the principles of religion and moral codes, it appears that he was unable to solve his real problem without the help of the spiritual master, Lord Sri Krishna. He could understand that his so-called knowledge was useless in driving away his problems, which were drying up his whole existence, and it was impossible for him to solve such perplexities without the help of a spiritual master like Lord Krishna. Academic knowledge, scholarship, high position, etc., are all useless in solving the problems of life. Help can only be given by a spiritual master like Krishna. Therefore, the conclusion is that a spiritual master who is 100% Krishna conscious is the bona fide spiritual master, for he can solve the problems of life. Lord Chaitanya said that one who is master in the science of Krishna consciousness, regardless of his social position, is the real spiritual master. Keba vipra vipkiban yasi sudra kane naya ye Krishna tattva vata se guru haya. This is a quote from Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it's translated as, "It does not matter whether a person is a Vipra, which is a learned scholar in Vedic wisdom, or is born in a lower family, or is in the renounced order of life. If he is a master in the science of Krishna, he is the perfect and bona fide spiritual master." So without being a master in the science of Krishna consciousness, no one is a bona fide spiritual master. It is also said in Vedic literatures, Satkarma nipuno vipro mantra tantra visharadaha. A Vaishnavo Guru or Nasyad Vaishnavaha Svapako Guru, which is translated as, a scholarly Brahmin, expert in all subjects of Vedic knowledge, is unfit to become a spiritual master without being a Vaishnav or expert in the science of Krishna consciousness. But a person born in a family of a lower caste can become a spiritual master if he is a Vaishnav or Krishna conscious. Unquote. The problems of material existence, which are birth, old age, disease, and death, these problems cannot be counteracted by accumulation of wealth and economic development. In many parts of the world, there are states which are replete with all facilities of life, which are full of wealth and economically developed. Yet the problems of material existence are still present. They are seeking peace in different ways, but they can achieve real happiness only if they consult Krishna or the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, which constitute the science of Krishna, or the bona fide representative of Krishna, the man in Krishna consciousness. If economic development and material comforts could drive away one's lamentations for family, social, national, or international inebrieties, then Arjuna would not have said that even an unrivaled kingdom on earth, or supremacy like that of the demigods in the heavenly planets, would not be able to drive away his lamentations. He sought, therefore, refuge in Krishna consciousness, and that is the right path for peace and harmony. Economic development or supremacy over the world can be finished at any moment by the cataclysms of material nature. Even elevation into a higher planetary situation, as men are now seeking a place on the moon planet, can also be finished at one stroke. The Bhagavad Gita confirms this. Kshine punye martyalokam vasanti. When the results of pious activities are finished, one falls down again from the peak of happiness to the lower status of life. Many politicians of the world have fallen down in that way. Such downfalls only constitute more causes for lamentation. Therefore, if we want to curb lamentation for good, then we have to take shelter of Krishna, as Arjuna is seeking to do. So Arjuna asked Krishna to solve his problem definitely, and that is the way of Krishna consciousness. Text 9. Sanjaya uvacha evam uktva rishikesham gudakesha parantapaha na yotsya iti govindam uktva tushnim babuvaha. Sanjaya said, having spoken thus, Arjuna, chastiser of enemies, told Krishna, Govinda, I shall not fight, and fell silent. Purport. Dhritarashtra must have been very glad to understand that Arjuna was not going to fight and was instead leaving the battlefield for the begging profession. But Sanjaya disappointed him again in relating that Arjuna was competent to kill his enemies. Although Arjuna was for the time being overwhelmed with false grief due to family affection, he surrendered unto Krishna, the supreme spiritual master, as a disciple. This indicated that he would soon be free from the false lamentation resulting from family affection and would be enlightened with perfect knowledge of self-realization or Krishna consciousness, and would then surely fight. Thus, Dhritarashtra's joy would be frustrated, since Arjuna would be enlightened by Krishna and would fight to the end. Text 10. Tam uvacha rishikesha prahasan iva bharat senayor ubayor madhye vishidantam idam vachaha. O descendant of Bharat, at that time Krishna, smiling in the midst of both the armies, spoke the following words to the grief-stricken Arjuna. Purport. The talk was going on between intimate friends, namely the Rishikesh and the Gudakesh. As friends, both of them were on the same level, but one of them voluntarily became a student of the other. Krishna was smiling because a friend had chosen to become a disciple. As Lord of all, he is always in the superior position as the master of everyone, and yet the Lord accepts one who wishes to be a friend, a son, a lover, or a devotee, or who wants him in such a role. But when he was accepted as the master, he at once assumed the role and talked with the disciple like the master, with gravity, as it is required. It appears that the talk between the master and the disciple was openly exchanged in the presence of both armies, so that all were benefited. So the talks of Bhagavad Gita are not for any particular person, society, or community, but they are for all, and friends or enemies are equally entitled to hear them. Text 11. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Ashochan anvasochastvam pragyavaramscha bahasase gatasumscha nanu sochanti panditaha. The blessed Lord said, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor the dead. Purport. The Lord at once took the position of the teacher and chastised the student, calling him indirectly a fool. The Lord said, you are talking like a learned man, but you do not know that one who is learned, one who knows what is body and what is soul, does not lament for any stage of the body, neither in the living nor in the dead condition. As it will be explained in later chapters, it will be clear that knowledge means to know matter and spirit, and the controller of both. Arjuna argued that religious principles should be given more importance than politics or sociology, but he did not know that knowledge of matter, soul, and the supreme is even more important than religious formularies. And because he was lacking in that knowledge, he should not have posed himself as a very learned man. As he did not happen to be a very learned man, he was consequently lamenting for something which was unworthy of lamentation. The body is born and is destined to be vanquished, today or tomorrow. Therefore, the body is not as important as the soul. One who knows this is actually learned, and for him there is no cause for lamentation, regardless of the condition of the material body. So I think I'm going to stop there. This is one of the most famous quotes from the Gita, this last one. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor the dead. And as it's been explained here, that when we refer to what is living and what is dead, that's only just the body. And we make the distinction between this material physical body and who we really are, which is not the body, but the spirit soul that uses the body to incarnate on this planet at this time. So it also explains what knowledge is. So we think we may know something, or like I said in a previous reading, when it's described as what we're talking about intelligence. Actual intelligence is knowledge of eternal things, because even in like the world of science, it's really, what they think are facts are merely still observations. And as we know, everything in this material world is temporary and constantly changing. So most of what we know as science is really just theoretical. And what may be proven now can be disproved at any time in the future, because conditions are always changing. That's the nature of this material world. So real knowledge, a real learned person, is based on what's referred to here as the absolute truth. And for most people who are living and what we call conditioned souls, right? We're all conditioned souls, conditioned by a soul that is living under these conditions, that is conditioned life after life, and identifying with these temporary things. So yeah, I don't know if I completed that thought, but anyway, we'll be continuing on this same thread tomorrow. And thank you again for tuning in, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Aloha. Haribol.